All right, so what we're doing this month is we're looking at a study that was using placement to place students who started at the elementary algebra level into one of three groups randomly. So there was an initial, the experiment was done in 2013, the study came out in 2016, but then in 2019, came out the follow-up that studied these students for 3 years after they were in one of these three groups. So elementary algebra with support, or statistics with support, which was the co-requisite version. And as I mentioned in the last video, of the three groups, the one that had the most success was the statistics group. All of these students were starting at the same approximate level in terms of their math ability, according to, I believe, a placement test. But however they were placed, they were all approximately at the same level. And it wasn't that the stat students did a little bit better, they did significantly better than the other two groups. That's a big finding, but it is hard not to go, well, was that a semester? Was that a one-off? Did someone dumb down the material? Did someone change the assessments? Those students must be different. A lot of things were controlled for. It was an extremely high quality, well done study, okay? And also these findings have been found over and over and over and over again. They have been replicated. But regardless of how wonderful they were at the time, what did it mean going forward? And this is what I found fascinating. So what it meant going forward, the biggest things that they found is that these students were more likely to graduate, more likely to accumulate college credits. They were more likely to meet their general education requirements. And this was all independent of race or ethnicity. That's amazing. There was also several more findings to it, and I will link to a blog that I've recently written that has the link to the original study, the follow-up study, and then all the different findings, so you can see everything for yourself. But I think it's impressive that not only was this a great positive thing at the time, it also ended up being more positive and more beneficial for these students as they went forward. I'm going to speak as math faculty, and I know not everyone's going to agree with me, but I do think, because I'm concerned, I work with math faculty every day, and I've been one for a long time, we tend to perceive co-requisites as like less than. That's like not the great version of how to remediate a student who's not completely prepared for a class. We think the best way to do it is to put them in a prerequisite course and give them all of the background. And we think that's the way to do it. And we can believe that, but that's not what shows to be true. And I think that's what's so interesting about these studies. They really challenge our assumptions, and they really challenge our beliefs in what is true. And I think we can't ignore that. These students, not only did more of them pass the statistics co-requisite than the beginning algebra class, even with help at the time, they were more likely to graduate. They were more likely to have more success in the 3 years that followed. So what's going on here? So the study, they go into this, but I will tell you, I'll kind of give you my short synopsis of it and what I have seen to be true. And then also in the study, it backs this up as well. There is something different about the mindset of a student that starts in a college level course. That changes things significantly. When a student starts in a developmental course, they often perceive themselves as less than, that they are not supposed to be at college. They're not really welcome there. They're not really ready. And that gets into their head. And when they have doubts about, like, if they get a test back or they're struggling to get themselves to class, that will rear its head at the least opportune times. And on the flip side, when a student starts in a college level class, they perceive themselves as, I'm supposed to be here. And that mental mindset matters. It really, really, really matters. And it sticks with them. And it sticks with them throughout lots of different aspects. Now, granted, we also just know that if you start in a developmental, it's that much more money and time to get to a college level course, and you have to keep signing up for a course and take it and pass it. There's so many more hurdles that we know that the developmental course presents, that when you start in a college level course, even a co-requisite, that you don't have to deal with. And so you have on your side. And I'm not discounting that you have things on your side. But what you also have on your side is a difference in perspective. And that difference matters. When a student is sitting and working on actual statistics content, college level, and they're seeing the point of it, and when they're struggling, they're like, oh yeah, we have to do a probability, and I can't remember how to do this with my calculator. There was something in fractions I'm struggling with, and we go to the side and we work on that. That is completely different than sitting in a beginning algebra class or a pre-algebra class and working on fractions as though you were in 5th grade. Night and day. And that difference matters. It matters big time on a big level, and not just for a little bit. It matters for years to come. So what can we take to this? First off, I want you to read these studies. And if you're like, Kathy, I still don't believe it, read them then. I want you to, because I'm not trying to sell you a bill of goods. I'm reporting on what they say. And it's fascinating to me. And that's why I'm always reading studies, because I want to see, where are we finding what works? Where are we finding that it kind of works, but it doesn't it's not that big of a deal? Where is it a really big deal? Where is it not? How does this hold if a student was in, say, college algebra as opposed to statistics? It's not cut and dry that, we just, again, we found the magic bullet with Corex. I'm not saying that. I'm saying we have found a pretty good technique for a population of students. That's great. That's huge. We didn't have that 10 years ago. Now we got to keep going and continue to study and figure out what are the good techniques for other populations. And what's really cool is the data is there. And so I'm going to be reporting on more of that because I'm always saying, well, you know what the research says, but most people are busy and they don't have time to go through it. So I read a lot of research. So I'm going to be bringing to you interesting studies and their findings. And again, challenging you and me about our assumptions and what that can actually mean for the changes that we're trying to make, and being open to the changes that we're trying to make, that they actually can work. Now, they're going to work for everybody? No, they're not going to work all the time, but it can be better than it is now. And that is saying something. I'll see you next time.